Welcome back to another edition of the City That Never Sleeps show. I'm your host, Brandyn and My co-host, Ryan Toomey, will be joining us a little bit later into the show. He was a little busy today, and he will not be with us for the beginning of the show. But just like the sports world, just like New York, this show doesn't stop for anything. So we got a lot of sports news to cover, lots of MLB discussion we're going to get to. Got to talk about the Mets. Got to talk about their continuing roller coaster season. Yankees are playing very well. Going to get into some NBA talk, probably some NHL talk as well, some other sports talk around the different leagues. But we're going to start off with a little bit of a different thing. The futures bets for the NFL have come out, and as we are getting closer and closer to training camp, fantasy football is going to be starting up, and a lot of people are going to be also looking for the best value picks, the best picks to really make some money off the NFL season. And with that out of the way, I feel like there's no better time to introduce our resident betting expert of the show, Mr. Evan Lawler. So, Evan, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So, you shot me a text last week about how the NFL futures bets have been put up. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to be looking at these live with the rest of the audience here on today's show. So, I guess I'll toss to you in seeing some of the futures bets and seeing, what's been posted and what the odds are at. What are some that have stuck out to you, and really why?
I guess this is I don't know. I like Jalen Hurts for MVP, but he's a plus 1,200 guy for that, and he's behind Justin Herbert, which, again, I like Herbert, Oregon guy. I'm an Oregon fan. But I feel like Jalen Hurts had a breakout year. I think he's going to have an MVP season. And to think that he is fifth on the list for that is a bit scary to me. I don't know why. But I really like him for MVP. Obviously, looking at, Offensive Player of the Year, I really like Jamar Chase. I think him and Joe Burrow are going to have a really good year. I personally do think that it's going to be a Bengals-Eagles Super Bowl with the Eagles winning. That's how I feel. I think it's going to be a very good Super Bowl matchup. And then who else here? I don't really like betting or putting anything out on defensive guys. I feel like defense is more of a team effort rather than an individual one, rather than offense where you can give it to one guy and he'll work. I feel like a defense has to all work together. So I don't really like putting out Defensive Player of the Year. But there's a couple, usual heads on there that should be Coach of the Year. Again, I'm not liking that. Offensive Rookie of the Year, B.J. Robinson, first guy on there. And then you have Bryce Young, and then you have C.J. Stroud. I'm between Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. I think I'm leaning now more towards C.J. Stroud. I really like him there at the Texans. I think he'll be a little bit more productive with a young team like that. And I feel like Bryce Young's in more of a situation where he's kind of going to get thrown in the mix, and I don't think he's going to be that productive. But again, B.J. Robinson, I don't know. It's crazy to me for him to be there. And then obviously, like Rookie of the Year, you got Will Anderson. Comeback Player of the Year, DeMar Hamlin, obviously with everything going on. That's well-deserved. It's minus 250. But Breece Hall plus 2,000. I like him for Comeback Player of the Year. I think that would be awesome, especially if he has a really good all-purpose season. I think he definitely could get it. But with the DeMar Hamlin's thing last year, I think it's only right for the NFL to give it to him. And then other than that, that's like the season awards I have, looking at those. And then like you have like the Cardinals we were talking about last week be the last, team to have like 0 wins or whatever it is. It'll be the last winless team, which I think was like plus 400 or something like that. But that's all I have for like season awards. That's what I've been looking at. But the odds are, I think, pretty good for a lot of the guys if you want to throw a parlay down.
Yeah, so just to go really award by award, for me at least. So looking at the MVP, I think you hit the nail on the head. Jalen Hurts seems like at least a guy that's going to finish top 5 in the voting, and you can get him right now at plus 1,200 odds. Those are really good odds for a guy that, let's face it, has been consistently getting better year after year and is turning into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Your leader in the odds are Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Mahomes, Herbert, and then Hurts. And even if you want to go beyond that, I would feel great throwing some money down on Lamar Jackson at 1,500. I would feel great about putting some money down for Aaron Rodgers at 1,600. Feel like Hurts, Lamar, and Rodgers, if everything goes right for those guys this year, could have amazing seasons. And with the way their teams are built, because the Eagles are a great all-around team. The Ravens are a great all-around team. And the Jets, with the quarterback in place now, have the potential to be a great all-around team. Those are guys I would definitely look at. And if you really want to just maybe look for a little better odds in a sense, maybe Tua at 1,600 if Miami really fires on all cylinders. But if I'm going to bet on anyone, going to be honest, putting Lamar Jackson down. I feel like Lamar in a Todd Monken offense, finally having reign to pass the way he wants to pass. Because let's face it, Lamar Jackson is a good passer. The offensive coordinator that they had did not allow Lamar to operate in that way because, one, they did not focus on getting actual receiving talent. Number two, it was a very heavy run focus and a very tight end focused scheme. With the utilization of Lamar's passing ability combined with the running ability that everyone knows he has, you could see an MVP caliber year because the Ravens offense will finally be open. There's a ton of speed on that roster, a ton of talent, and I'm very excited to see what this offense does. Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year. This one, Jamar Chase has the best odds, but that's at plus 1,200. No one has better odds than plus 1,200. Looking at some of the other guys on the list, Cooper Kupp at plus 2,000. If you're making that bet, you're banking on him coming back strong from the injury. You're basically banking on he's the same guy post-injury. That's not always the case, especially with a guy getting closer to 30 than he is to 25. Justin Jefferson, I think that's a great pick there. My two picks, and the odds are separated by 500. Christian McCaffrey or Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson could make a huge jump into the upper echelon of receivers in the NFL this year just by virtue of having Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. We all know he has the talent, the ability, the separation, the potential to be that all-around amazing wide receiver. And I do think he capitalizes on that. So I wouldn't be opposed to putting money on him. But personally, for me, I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. I think if he stays healthy, he is the engine of this 49ers offense. Kyle Shanahan, as much as he loves to utilize different running backs, pick guys up off the street, Christian McCaffrey is way more than just a running back. And the contract he has represents that. So I'm very, very on board with McCaffrey for this award. So we're going with Lamar, McCaffrey, Defensive Player of the Year. This one's interesting because really for a secondary guy to get it, you need a bunch of interceptions. I would lean towards Sauce Gardner at plus 1,300, but predicting a guy's interception total and predicting a guy to be exactly the same in coverage as he was and defensive pass interferences, let's be honest, it's a crapshoot. It's something you cannot predict. So, as a result, I feel better going with any of Myles Garrett, Michael Parsons, TJ Watt, or Nick Bosa. I'm going to go with TJ Watt. I just feel like he's a dominant force. You can't really go wrong with any of these guys. This is kind of the one where it's like it's a toss-up. Hell, you could even throw in Aaron Donald, a Max Crosby, Hassan Reddick, Quinnen Williams, Aiden Hutchinson. You never know what defender, what pass rusher is going to have that incredible year. And if you hit on it, great. But if you don't, that's the very tough part.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. On defense, it's hard for me to pick a guy because, a defense is a big team effort. There's a lot of stunts, a lot of guys that open up. And being a defensive guy, I think it's a lot harder to bet on one of those guys, especially because a lot of guys go under the radar with how well they do. So I definitely agree with you on that.
The funny thing is Sauce Gardner is the only secondary player I even see listed for odds in the even like 1,000 range. 1,000 to
Which I love
2,000
that.
range.
That's
Your
awesome.
next secondary player is Patrick Surtain, who I think is a fantastic player and just as good as Sauce Gardner. He's plus 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much they're confident Gardner. But my whole thing with picking Gardner is, what if teams start just avoiding him and going after the middle of the field where the Jets, I wouldn't say they're weak, but they're not as strong as having the guys on the outside and DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. You can't win Defensive Player of the Year if no one throws at you.
You can't avoid. If I'm going to put a secondary guy at a Defensive Player of the Year, it'd be a safety.
Yes,
Those are guys you can't avoid. You can avoid corners. As we talked about, defensive linemen, they can get after the quarterback no matter what. You could double team guys, triple team guys like Aaron Donald, and he still will be a dominant force in the game. A corner, you can take out the game by just not throwing to his side.
Coach of the Year, we got some great options. You got Dan Campbell, Sean Payton, Matt Eberflus. But the guy I'm going to go with is Jets head coach Robert Saleh, because I think if the Jets break their playoff absentee streak, or whatever, however you want to frame it, it's been over a decade since the Jets have made the playoffs. If the Jets make the playoffs and the defense is on the same level and Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, I think they give it to the Jets head coach, unless the Lions also make the playoffs.
I was going to say, I could say the same thing about Dan Campbell,
exactly.
which I think they will make the playoffs. I think, and this is just another future if you want to put this down for 7 teams. I think the Vikings get removed from the playoffs, and I think the Lions replace the Vikings from last year. And I think everyone else who made the playoffs last year make the playoffs, but I think that's my swap if you're going to swap 2 teams.
I'm on board with that. I think the Lions are going to win the division. I truly do. I think they're the best team in that division. I think they're going to beat Minnesota. And, offensive rookie of the year, I'm going to go with your pick, CJ Stroud. I think that he's going to have a fantastic year. I don't know what Jahmyr Gibbs' role is going to be. That's the one where I'm like, if he has a solidified every down role, that's my pick. But we don't know yet. Detroit also has David Montgomery. So how is he going to fit into that offense? Bijan is probably your quote-unquote lock, but I'd rather take the shot on the plus 900 guy than the plus 300 guy. Try to make yourself a little bit more money. And then moving on to Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Jalen Carter. I think Will Anderson's a great pick as well, but I think Jalen Carter in the middle of that Eagles defense is going to feast. He has other guys surrounding him that are very good. And with how much talent he himself has, he's going to have a fantastic rookie year. And then comeback player of the year, let's be honest, Breece Hall is a great pick. John Mechie is a fantastic pick as well. I think they're giving it to DeMar Hamlin. I think that's a lock. If he plays if he plays more than 5 games this year, he's a lock for this. 1,000%. So,
it's just an NFL thing. Sorry, I hate to cut you off. It's just an NFL thing. Like, if they don't do that, like, you need a guy who's gonna come back play a year, completely blow everyone out the water.
So, okay. What do you think the odds on this are? This parlay.
The one we just you put it down.
I put it down.
I've been trying to plus. Oh, it's got to be plus 100,000 at least.
Plus, and I'm going to try to figure out this number. Oh my goodness gracious! Plus 68,372,000. Oh no! Wait, hold on. 683,726,300. Those are your odds. If you put down $2, it's not even letting you bet on.
Yeah, I think you can do 4. I think it's
$1 bet. Hold on.
If
no,
you just
Why I don't? It keeps saying invalid.
Yeah, you can only do I think a 4 leg for these because the number's just ridiculous if you get that whole thing right.
$10 to win $68 million. I don't know. Look, I understand that some of these sports books have a lot of money, I don't know if they have enough money to fund a type of bet that would hit like that.
No.
I don't understand why it's saying invalid. Maybe if you bet 100. Nope. Because the money just keeps going up. So we're gonna bet 3 of these at a time. How about that? Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I think we'll do a few different ones. We'll put down like $1 on a few different ones. I'll come next week. I think I'm gonna come back and I'll have like a few different season award winners. I think in futures that we'll put down like $1 on each.
All right. 4
and see what happens.
Yes. So 4 of them. So Hamlin, Watt, McCaffrey, and Jackson. $2 to win $8,000. I'm using a bonus bet on that one. So I think what ones? All right, let's check what ones I did. So Hamlin, Jackson, McCaffrey, Watt. So we go back here. I think that means the last ones are Salah, Stroud, Carter, and I think that's it. Yeah, because that would be 7. I can't believe they didn't let you make all 7 together because you're just breaking the sports book. $1 to win $1,614. So those are your awards bets. And the other part of the show I wanted, in terms of betting, that I wanted to look at today are some Jets and Giants specific ones. So there's a lot of futures for both of these teams. Looking at the Jets first. Some very interesting odds or different bets. Jets to score 1 touchdown in every game is plus 100. Garrett Wilson to score 10 plus touchdowns is only plus 125. Jets to make the playoffs and Packers to miss the playoffs plus 150. Allen Lazard to score 10 plus touchdowns plus 250. Jets to beat Bills at home and on the road, so sweep them plus 320. AFC Championship game for the Jets, plus 400. Jets to miss the playoffs and Packers to make the playoffs, plus 500. Jets to score a passing touchdown every regular season game, plus 750. Jets to have the number 1 AFC regular season record, plus 1,300. Aaron Rodgers to score 5 rushing touchdowns or more, plus 1,500. Jets to go undefeated in AFC East games, plus 2,900. Jets to score 1 plus rushing touchdown in every game, plus 11,000. And Jets to go undefeated in the regular season, plus 25,000. So if you're looking at any of those, what ones stood out to you and what ones do you think in that same vein could actually happen?
Hey, man, you know me. I like the big ones. I really like the rushing touchdown every regular season game. With the running back room you guys got, you also have Aaron Rodgers who likes to scramble a little bit. I think at least they could. I think it's a possibility. I mean, don't throw ginormous money on that, but it's big enough to the point where I think it could happen. I have a lot of faith in the Jets to score a rushing touchdown, even though that's not everyone thinks they're going to be this year, more like of an air raid. But I think they can do it. I think you guys got the facilities for it, especially if you run, jet sweeps with Garrett Wilson and, keep that offense alive and just mix up everything. I think it definitely could happen.
Yeah, I just put $1 down on that one. I agree. I think with how much of a threat the passing game should be with Aaron Rodgers under center, you will have the opportunity to score rushing touchdowns in a lot of games, in most of your games. And it's not like the Jets offensive line is just dearth of talent. They have a lot of talent among it. It's just a matter of staying healthy. That's the most important part. So I think that's a very realistic one. I also think a passing touchdown every regular season game is a very realistic one. You have, looking at some other bets before we move on to the Giants, you have Jets make the playoffs, minus 134 for yes, plus 110 for no. The over-under total is 9.5. Over is minus 118. Under is minus 104. And then your exact total, the odds are your best at, I'd say, 10. Or not the best, but that's your lowest odds at plus 550. Undefeated plus 2,200, 16 plus 600, 15 plus 2,900, 14 plus 1,700. I could see 14 or 13 happening. Those are in your 1,000 range. And then anything under 10, that's when you start to go back up. 9 is plus 600, 8 is plus 650, 7 is plus 800, and so on and so forth. I think that could be a very interesting one. And then you have your over-under props for Rodgers. His over-under touchdown total is at 29.5. Garrett Wilson's yardage total is at 1,125.5. And then you can bet individually on different Jets games. Ironically, they already have some spreads up for the regular season. The Jets are plus 1.5 underdogs at home to begin the year and minus 2.5 favorites in their second game of the year against the Black Friday game against the Dolphins. Those are the only two games with lines up. And then we move on to the Giants. So Giants have some very interesting ones as well. Before we get into some of the different parlays, not parlays you can make, but some of the bigger odds. Giants, their over-under win total is 7.5. I'm hammering the over on that. 1,000%. And to make the playoffs, they are plus odds at plus 160. What do we think about that?
I don't know why they're evaluating. I think it's the whole Saquon thing. I think that's really probably where it's all coming from. But I think Giants make this playoffs with or without Saquon. I think we have the guys to do it. I think we have the room to do it. This team via social media, and I know it's OTAs and blah, 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 but they seem very like a unit. And I like that. The chemistry is very good with the players right now. We drafted fantastic. We had almost an A-plus draft class for I think it was NFL.com who rated it. So, I mean, I don't know why 7.5. Like, I've predicted Giants to get at least 9 to 10 wins this season at the bare minimum. Most maybe 11, 12 if we get real lucky. So 7.5 is kind of crazy. And then plus odds to make the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me. But I don't know.
My whole thing, it's a weak NFC. So it's like even if the Giants aren't, oh my God, they win the division or they're the first wild card, there's two other wild card slots. It's an absolute failure if they don't make the playoffs this season. And
100%.
It's a failure if they don't win more than 7 games. It's like, it's simple as that. For me, it's simple as that. So I'm not going to take it right now, but I'd be hammering the over for the wins. I'd be hammering yes for them to make the playoffs. Looking at some of the parlays, Kayvon Thibodeau, 10 plus sacks, plus 125. Saquon 10 plus rushing touchdowns, plus 125. Giants 1 touchdown in every regular season game, plus 250. Daniel Jones, 10 plus rushing touchdowns is plus 300. 30 passing touchdowns for him, plus 650. Giants to sweep the Eagles, that's a very interesting one, plus 650. Jalen Hyatt, 10 receiving touchdowns. Now, this would be something if it happened. Plus 800. Giants NFC Championship game, plus 900. 1 passing touchdown every game for the Giants, plus 6,000. 1 rushing touchdown in every game, plus 7,500. And then Giants to be undefeated in NFC East regular season games, plus 10,000. So, similar to the Jets, what stands out for you in that, and really why?
I mean, I don't know. I would flip the odds for the NFC Championship in the 1 plus passing touchdown in every game. That's weird. I feel like that actually could happen. I mean, that's weird. Our offense is now geared towards really throwing the ball. I mean, we got the guys to do it. But only plus 900 to make the NFC Championship game. I don't think that's like the worst. I thought it would be worse odds, to be honest. I mean, let's be real here. I think that should be a plus 1,001, but who knows? I mean, I don't really like any of these lines, like, to be really honest with you. So, I mean, besides like the sacks, that's really kind of it. I don't really like anything else. Saquon, like plus 10 rushing touchdowns. If he stays healthy, yeah, he'll smash that, but it's Saquon. He gets hurt. So, I mean, who knows?
The passing touchdown one's very interesting because you could $5 wins you 300 on that. And like you said, I don't think that's the most quote unquote unrealistic thing to happen. Like, it's not like I'd say, this just isn't going to happen because the Giants suck. Well, they don't suck, and they have a very good offensive coordinator. So I'd be very, very interested in, how their offense works if they lean more towards the run. If they don't have Saquon for whatever reason, I feel like they're even more geared towards the pass. And a passing touchdown can just be a 1-yard goal line pass. It can be a 2-yard, 5-yard. Like, it doesn't always have to be that big time play. You also have garbage time where you can have passing touchdowns. So I think that's a very good bet to look at. And I think in terms of, like, as we go forward next week, we can definitely look at some of the conference winners, maybe parlay some of that, the division winners, and look at some exact win totals and playoff specials for some of the other teams around the league, because we got some time until the NFL regular season. But on this show, I think it's going to be very fun if we look at some of the betting lines and look at how each team is shaping up to be in terms of what the sports books think, and then compare that to how we actually view that team. So I think that'll be very fun.
I just took a look. Daniel Jones didn't throw a touchdown in only 5 games last year. And we had like Walmart wide receivers at that point.
I wouldn't even say Walmart. I'd say like Costco brand at that point.
Like, we didn't even have like the guys who could really be trusted, and we had a lot of injuries. So I mean, I don't think like that's really that bad. And only 5, he didn't throw at least 1 touchdown in. His rushing though last year was 7. They don't have like a rushing over on here. They should. 5?
Yeah, because I don't think they have one, because they know everyone would take it. It'd be like free money.
Oh my God. Yeah, he had like 7 rushing touchdowns last year. So I think you could probably get the same amount. But again, I don't know, man. That's weird to me. Only 5 games for how bad their offense was. And some of those games was towards the end of the season when we had really bad wide receivers. So
yeah. So I think that was a good look at some of the NFL odds in terms of awards and different things. You really could make some big money if you hit right on the season awards, because those odds are very nice, even for the guys that are quote unquote the favorites. As you get closer to the regular season, some of those are going to come down 1,000%. So it's good to get in on some of them right now and then see how the offseason progresses, and then make more as you get towards closer to that year. So I think that wraps up our NFL portion. Not really much going on otherwise. Offseason activities are coming to an end soon. Then you're going to have a little bit of a break. And before you know it, training camp's going to be here. So that's very exciting. We'll have you covered here on the City That Never Sleeps show. But now it's time to talk about some NBA. And before we get to the Knicks stuff, because we will get to some Knicks stuff.
Oh, yeah, we will.
How about the NBA Finals? Because Game 1, it seemed like the Nuggets were going to just cruise. Now, being a fan of an Eastern Conference team that dealt with the Miami Heat, I didn't rule the Heat out of winning at least one game. But the way in which they won Game 2 on the road, which, hey, we got a series now. You love to see it. They took away the Nuggets' best aspect. And it was a way that I really didn't think about going into this series. But the way Spoelstra executed it, one, showed that the Heat can hang with Denver if they execute this the way they did. And 2, proved why he's such a great head coach. What Spoelstra did is he didn't take Jokic out of the game. He took away Jokic passing and basically said, Jokic has to beat us, not anyone else. And that is what stalled out Denver's offense. So, Evan, tossing it to you as someone that has been really locked into a lot of these different playoff matchups, seen a lot of what the Heat have done and what Denver has done. What were your thoughts seeing how Game 2 kind of just completely flipped on its head?
If I'm the Heat, though, I'm not this happy because they only won by 3 at the end of the day. And the Nuggets made a big run at the end. So this isn't like they blew them out. And I wouldn't be riding on my high horse if I'm the Heat. You got a long series to go if you want to keep on doing that. And you need guys to step up, like Gabe Vincent, like Max Strus did. Though they were shooting over 50%. I think the Heat from the 3-point line that whole game. Jimmy Butler hit 2 threes, like just some spot up threes. Like you need, if you want to be efficient, you need to shoot well like they did, and they didn't even win by that much. Yes, they made a big run and they took Jokic out, but still they only won by 3 points. And the Nuggets didn't even take a timeout at that point at the end of the game. They had enough confidence to be like, we don't need a timeout. If we lose this game, we lose this game. And I said this going into this. Nuggets in 5, they steal one in Denver. Nuggets in 6 because Miami might steal one at home as well. And that's how I felt. And I think it's going to go Nuggets, Miami, and then I think the Nuggets from there on out. I think they're going to figure it out from there. I think Miami gets another win. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, the Heat, they figured it out. I don't, it's hard for me to even be confident in the Heat still because it wasn't that good of a win. I mean, Jokic still put up 40 and they made him score, but is it really worth having a guy put up 40 on you? Like, I don't know. I mean, Bam is playing awesome because we know Jokic doesn't play defense. And I really, Bam's been really playing his butt off, and I'm really excited to see how they still use him. Gabe Vincent stepped up tremendously when Martin has now cooled off and really hasn't done a lot for them. But he's been awesome. Jamal Murray didn't even have a good game. He's had over 25 points in the last 6 playoff games or something like crazy like that. He only had 18. And then the Nuggets 3-point shooting hasn't been that efficient either. So I'm interested to see how Game 3 goes. I'm very excited. I'm gonna try to cook up a nice little parlay for them, but it's gonna be interesting. The Heat can't be happy about this win. They played fantastic that whole game and got a lead, but it's they didn't blow them out. The Nuggets made a run at the end, and if Jamal Murray hits that 3, I think we go in the OT, and I think the Nuggets win in OT.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to really is, if you think about it, right? There's always potential for a team to steal a game. Always. We've seen this in series where teams have lost in 5. A team ties a series in 1-1. Everyone thinks the series is all of a sudden going to be close, and then the result that happened in the first game is what happens. I think Miami can hang with Denver. I still think Denver wins this series, though, because I think Denver is the more talented team, but I think the Miami is a better coach team. Not by much, but just the small things here and there. I think that if the Miami game plan works the next game, then I'm going to be like, yeah, we got ourselves a 6 or 7 game series. Because it's one thing if something works in one game. We saw that in the Lakers-Nuggets series. Oh, you put Rui on Jokic, or you put Davis on Jokic, you get stops, and yeah, we lost this game, but we feel good. And then it didn't translate. It didn't translate to the next game, and Denver made the necessary adjustments. I'm interested to see what adjustments Denver makes. I'm interested to see, does Michael Porter step up? Because Michael Porter did not have a good game, and his production has been vital to this team. Does Jamal Murray get back to what he has been consistently in this year's playoffs? Does Jokic take the scoring up to another level if Miami is going to basically be like, okay, you have to beat us? These are all different factors. And it swings back the other way too. Is Max Strus going to hit all of his shots? Is Gabe Vincent going to stay consistent from 3? Is Caleb Martin going to be the same scorer? Is Jimmy Butler going to struggle? Or is Bam Adebayo going to struggle? We've seen these different aspects. And while Miami has been consistent for the most part in getting the production out of the necessary role players and the necessary side players, we've also seen games where that hasn't been the case and they've been able to overcome it. This has happened in the Knicks series. In the Boston series, why did it go 7? The talent of Boston shone through, and Miami did not hit their shots. They won the series, but the signs have been there. So I guess to really bring it around full circle, I'm very interested to see the adjustments each side makes in Game 3, because that'll go a long way in telling me what type of series we truly have. It is at home. Miami has the home court advantage. If Miami is able to stay consistent to what they did in Game 2 and take that series lead, I'm going to feel a lot better about Miami's chances. I'm not necessarily going to go as far to say, oh, yeah, they're going to absolutely run Denver off the court now. But I'm going to feel better in saying this is going to be a very tight contested series. And it probably is going to be that in every game. Maybe the final series record will not show that, but I think every game from here on out is going to be close. On Denver's side, how do you prevent Miami just going on runs like this? How can you ensure that someone else is stepping up the score alongside Jokic and that the rest of your team isn't being taken out of the game? Those are really the things I'm looking to in this series, because that'll determine whether or not it's truly a close series or not. You agree with that, or?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, there's not a lot really else to say about that. I think it's going to be you just have to see how these teams play. I think if the Heat shoot bad, it's done. I think if Denver shoots bad, I think Denver still stays in the game. And I think that's how it's going to be. I think the Heat have to play at that same level and shoot very well to be able to have a shot in this series.
Yeah, so the game is tomorrow night, 8:30 in Miami, series tied 1-1. Putting you on the spot right here. Prediction. Nuggets or Heat, who's winning? And I guess a final score prediction if you want to go as far as that.
Damn. All right, let me think. We know Miami plays well at home. But this is hard. Let me think. I think Heat are gonna ride this win. I'm gonna go Heat take a win at home. I think it's gonna be another close one. I'm gonna go I'll go 110, 106, 107 around there. I think the Heat win another close when they squeak one out, and I think the Nuggets finally lock in and figure it out. But again, I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Heat are just going to ride this momentum they have for a little bit, and I think the Nuggets are going to lock in their role guys are going to step up, like Michael Porter Jr., KCP. The KCP had 5 fouls in crunch time last game, and then Bruce Brown stepped up a little bit, but Bruce Brown wasn't really hitting from 3. He had, I think, 10 or 12 points, though. He played very well. Who else? There's some notable guy. I'm trying to think of another notable guy. Oh, Aaron Gordon's been playing pretty well, though. I think he's stepped up a lot. I think just, you need those 2 other guys to really in their bench a little bit to step up. And they had that one kid. I forget his name. Zero. Oh my God.
Christian Braun.
Yeah, he had an awesome game too. He played very well. So, you just need those guys to step up a little bit, and I think they'll be straight.
Yeah, so looking at it, last game was a 111-108 victory for the Miami Heat. Like we talked about, you got production from Duncan Robinson in the fourth quarter. You got Strus hitting multiple threes. Gabe Vincent had 23. Bam's playing great. Jimmy's playing great, especially in the fourth quarter. You're getting the necessary production out of Kevin Love when you need it, and Kyle Lowry as well. With that being said, I'm going to go with we got a comment. That is true.
Very true.
Jimmy stepped out of bounds. Heat should have lost. The refs did miss that. That is very true. The Heat probably shouldn't have won that game. And that goes to my point. I don't think Miami wins this game. I think it's a close game, but I'm expecting like a 115-110 Denver Nuggets victory. I think Denver gets back to what works and what worked in game 1. I think that Jokic plays even better and gets that assist number up from 4 or 5 to 7 or 8 again. And that's going to make a huge difference. I think Jamal Murray steps up. I think Michael Porter Jr. finally has a good game, and that's the difference. I also think Strus and Vincent come back down to earth because Denver has as much talent as any team Miami has played this entire postseason, arguably even more. I think they also have the best coaching that Miami has played this entire postseason because Spoelstra was way better than Thibodeau. He was better than Budenholzer, and I think he was better than Mazzulla. I think he's a little bit better than Malone, but not by much. And I think Malone's going to have a nice game plan for game 3, get the Nuggets back up, and then the Heat are going to be back in that game 2 position where they have to win a game at home or the series could be over. So
Kevin Love
that's where
even stepped up too. Kevin Love played really well too. He was hitting a couple threes that game. That was very important for them.
Yeah. Greg also says all they do is foul Joker, especially when putting Vincent or Lowry on him. The NBA can't have these small guards have success playing defense against bigs like Joker, especially on the offensive foul side of things. But to that point, there are some things that those small guards can do. They can draw the charges. They can, find ways to make up for that size disadvantage. But overall, I think Denver wins game 3. We will see next week, as by the time we have our next show, there will be 3 more games done. So potentially the NBA Finals could be done by next week's show. Very, very interesting. What do we got?
Parlay for you. Jamal Murray, 20 over 24.5. I think he gets back to 25, bare minimum. I got Gabe Vincent plus 13.5. I think Gabe Vincent has another 20-point game. Bruce Brown plus 10.5. He comes off the bench. I looked at the statistic the other day. Bruce Brown has 154 points compared to the rest of the Nuggets bench, which is 111. So Bruce Brown, I think, is going to step up again. Bam's over 19.5. I think he has a 20-point to 25-point game. Bam's been playing awesome again. Jokic doesn't really play defense, and Miami's been playing through Bam. He got a slow start last game, but he put up, I think, you have the stats up. I think it was 20.
Yes.
I think he had 20 exactly, right?
Who are we looking at? Bam?
Bam, yeah.
Bam had 21, 9, and 4.
Yeah. Yeah, he played really well. Bruce Brown's over for threes. Literally 1 3. He's over. It's a half. I think he gets at least 1 3. He's been shooting pretty well. And then Gabe Vincent for 2. That's a plus 1,700 parlay. So it'd be like 10 for 170 if you really want to do that. Again, I shoot for the stars when I make parlays. If you want to be a little safe, I would take out Bruce Brown, and I would just take out Bruce Brown if you want to play that safe. If you want to take out his over, take out his 3 plus 600 for Jamal Murray over, Gabe Vincent over, Bam over, and Gabe Vincent 2 threes. You put 10 down on that. That's for 60 if you want to play safe, plus 600 bet, which I don't even think that's that bad. No. I actually might do that this weekend.
Not bad at all.
No, I don't think that's a bad bet at all if you want to do just 4 guys. And Jimmy Butler didn't have a steal. First time I bet Jimmy Butler steal last game, he didn't have one.
Really?
That's it. Yeah, he was averaging a steal per game. If you want to put like a block on, I like Aaron Gordon. I like Mark Porter Jr. a little bit for a block. Steals, I think Jamal Murray and Jimmy are notable. They always get at least 1 steal a game. But yeah, I think Jokic. I didn't bet on his over because it's 29.5. I think he could put up a 35 game if especially they make him play like the way they just did. But that's fringe though, because I feel like he might try to facilitate more again this game. The way you're talking about, I think he might. I think they're going to try to cook up something with that pick and roll offense to get really guys open. Because if you're going to try to force the guys, he's always looking to pass before he scores. So,
yeah, 1,000%. Welcome to the show, Mr.
Hey, thank you for waiting. How's it going?
Yeah, so we know you were on a little bit of an adventure today.
Yes.
But we were talking about the NBA Finals and how the Miami Heat have evened up the series with the Nuggets. Myself and Evan both gave our predictions. We are taking the Nuggets in Game 3. Looking at what you've seen so far, we spoke about how the Heat basically worked not to take away Jokic, but to take away everyone besides Jokic. What have your observations been? And more importantly, what's your prediction and score prediction for tomorrow night's game?
Yeah, so Game 1 was last Tuesday or Thursday, whatever it was, right? So we didn't even talk about that. So I guess from Game 1 is just the Nuggets were just in control. It was the usual Nuggets basketball we saw, and the Heat just looked like they're outmatched and outplayed because from what you can tell, the Nuggets are a more put-together team. They completely are, especially with Jokic leading the helm. You got Jamal Murray, can score from anywhere. But, again, as we see that, we didn't see that last game. Like you said, they did do a great job to halter that. I mean, Jokic's assist numbers were very low. If someone had an exact number,
I got the stats up right
four,
here.
which is
Pretty sure,
crazy.
it was
So
4.
I guess
I bet on that. I know the number.
The game plan of the Heat obviously did something right because he was definitely positing double-digit assists the whole entire playoffs, and to limit that number was very good. You saw poor performances from Michael Porter Jr. as well, only 5 points, I believe, in the last game, and then Jamal Murray did have 18, but a lot of those points came late when they're trying to claw themselves back. But I don't know, even playing so bad, they were so much in that game, and that's just seems to be a thing. Great job for the Heat, though, to take a game from them. But, yeah, I'm going Nuggets. Sticking with the prediction, Nuggets the series, Nuggets next game. Pretty much Nuggets the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's funny because Denver took Miami's best punch and still only lost by 3.
Yeah,
I like that.
Could have easily been their game.
Could have easily been overtime if Jamal Murray hits that 3.
I'm telling you, yeah.
And we were talking about it. This series could be over by next episode. All the games take place before Tuesday.
Wow. I guess big that the Heat can get them on their home court tied. I guess that's a big part of the series, but again, still stick with the Nuggets. I believe you two are as well, just from coming in here.
And then the second point we had was in terms of the Heat's chances. One game, we've seen plenty of series where a team steals a game or a team steals 2 games. I'm still sticking with my Nuggets prediction. I need to see the Heat play like that a second game and a third game to really be like, all right, this is a series now. And it is quote unquote a series because the Nuggets aren't going to win in 4. They're not sweeping. Still have the chance for 5. But if Miami can consistently execute their defense and what they did, I'll feel better about their chances. But it's one game. Denver has a great coach in Malone, where I feel like he can change up things and, get them back on track, so to say.
No, yeah, completely makes sense. I mean, excited to see what the game plans for both coaches have for the next game and to see if Jokic gets back to his ball movement assists, trying to get those assists rather than, he still dropped 41 points. Guy still went off, but again, it's very weird to see him limited at the playmaking ability there.
Yeah. And we talked about some NFL stuff. We looked at some futures picks. We'll be talking more about division winners and conference winners next week on the show. But we went over some different awards winners. And that's a perfect transition because a little bit of a news blurb just popped up. Albert Breer has said that the Commanders might be willing to listen to trade offers on former second overall pick Chase Young.
Oh.
Not sure in terms of how he would fit, but I feel like both the Jets and Giants could look into him. Not sure if the Commanders would even trade in division, but we've seen things like this happen before. I personally think the Jets, for the right price, it'd be good to go after him, but they already have to extend enough guys. And his 5th-year option was already declined, so he'd be a free agent. You'd have to use the franchise tag, so on and so forth. You can never really add too much to your defensive line, though. So I'll toss it to you guys. What team do you think would benefit the most from picking up a guy like Young, and what do you think a price tag would be? Because I feel like the Commanders aren't trading for any less than a second-round pick.
I don't know. I don't know. You said Chase got wrong, right?
Chase Young. Yes.
He's an injury guy, though. He's always got something going on, so it makes it hard for me to put up. He's a dog, though. Don't get me wrong. Trust me, as a guy who watches D-line, play D-line, kid's a dog, and I don't want to take that away from him. But injuries, we always talk about. Saquon is a big one I always talk about. That's, not a position you get hurt that much in, but a team that could benefit a lot from getting him. I'm trying to think of a team that already has like a well-established, D-line or a well-established, pass rusher. First team that popped up in my mind was the Cowboys, but I would not want to see that. As a Giants fan, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch them play football together. I'd hate my life. Man, I don't know, Toomey, you have anything? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, no, one, he's just he's a generational talent. Hell of a rusher. The one season when we have seen him on the field, he disrupts plays. He makes things happen. He's in the back of every quarterback's mind when he's on the field. When it comes to the team between Jets or Giants, if we're going with that, or just, I think the Giants would benefit more, just per se, because the Jets really are very heavy right now in their D-line, especially with the Will McDonald signing or drafting him, and you're still waiting for Quinnen too. I mean, you got Lawson as well on the line. You got a bunch of other guys. You could I don't know. There's so many guys on the line, but I feel like, again, one of my issues when I was looking at with the Giants for the draft board was just going back and looking at that Eagles playoff game and seeing just where they beat you and why you weren't succeeding. And one of that had to do with the run game. The Eagles were running all over them. So best way to do that, or just disruption as well. Chase Young would do a great job of being in the back of Jalen Hurts' mind in the sense of we're going with the Eagles. So I think he'd really be a help to the Giants more than the Jets. But again, I think the guy's a generational talent, and I'd be so glad for the Jets to try and make a move at him.
I mean, you look at some different teams, just throwing some off the top of my head. I think the Vikings would be a really good fit. I think a team like the Chicago Bears could take a chance on him. They've really a rebuilding team. Why not take a chance on a high draft pick? And if it doesn't work out, guess what? He walks the next year. You're probably not going to have to give up too much for a guy that's a free agent next year anyway. Detroit, I think, would be a great addition. Have him opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I think that'd be very cool. And just add to that defensive line. I'm basically saying a bunch of NFC North teams right now, but that's the division that relies a lot on good defensive line play. I don't think it gets traded in division. Looking at some other teams,
Seahawks.
Rams, Seahawks is a great one. Absolutely. Rams, if they want to get part with a pick, he'd be a great fit with Aaron Donald, taking away a lot of pressure up the middle. 49ers won't trade for him. They have a lot of guys on that line. In the AFC, Buffalo would definitely see it. Miami could definitely see it. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Basically, most teams in the NFL, I think, would trade for Chase Young. But it all depends on what do you have on that defensive line. Price, because he is an upcoming free agent. Are you comfortable trying to pay him? And then fit. What scheme is it, and where would he play in terms of the different guys already on your roster? But overall, that'll be an interesting situation to watch, and I'm very intrigued to see if he struggles with injury again or he falls down the depth chart for whatever reason, which that's not the case right now. He is penciled in as a starter, but we have a lot of time until training camp, so anything can really happen there. Back to our basketball talk. I want to finish up this section of the show by talking about the Knicks because there was a piece of news that came out that was very intriguing. Julius Randle is getting off-season surgery on his ankle, maybe both ankles. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is, but he is getting off-season surgery. And it's very interesting because I wouldn't say it explains everything, but it definitely plays a part in his postseason struggles. So I'll give you guys the floor here. Hearing that Randall's getting the offseason surgery, does this change your reaction or really impression on what he did in this year's postseason?
I mean, I'd like to hear the input. You guys were the ones watching all those games. The Knicks were tough. I didn't know how he was playing, but just from looking stat-wise and what I've been hearing, obviously he was lacking and wasn't where Knicks fans wanted him to be at all times and the player they're expecting. But yeah, it's weird to look at. You see in every sport, you're playing so long throughout the season, and you hear this. I watched it with the Devils this year with Dougie Hamilton to see in the final couple games with an injury, and how much wear and tear these guys go to during the season, and then finally comes out at the end like, hey, they need surgery on this. Hey, this was tweaked the whole time. No one noticed. Because were there any reports at all of his ankle at all during this?
Yes, but it wasn't to the point where anyone expected for him to get surgery. Yes,
people did say that he rushed back in the Cavs series, but he played well the game he came back. So
I do remember that. I do remember he sat out the first game, didn't he? No, first game of the
Miami series.
Series, yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not. I spoke about this before. on the new Knicks podcast we have. Let's Talk Knicks. If you guys are interested, make sure to go check that out. But it gives you reason to really say he has heart, he cares, and he wants to help out this team, which if you had those questions, they're partly answered. You could also argue that it's because things go his way, that he's invested. But at the same time, you could also argue, him playing hurt. He was late on defensive rotations. His production did not help the team out. He missed a lot of shots. It forced Jalen Brunson to really have to carry the huge burden of the scoring without a guy like Randall there to help him out. So for me, at least, what it came down to was, yes, it gives you a reason, but it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse for his play.
I put this on Tibbs, man. If he knew like Randall was hurting like that, Obi, the first game he came in, tweaked. So why, Obi, you've got a guy in Obi who can replace Randall, and Randall know. And I don't know if it's a pride thing or an ego thing, and he doesn't want to get replaced by a young guy, and yada, yada, yada. I have no idea. But I would just trust in Obi. I mean, if he knew it was that bad and the training staff knew it was that bad, he should have, obviously don't not play, but take a little bit. Let the young guy, take on the slack or, play the way he did, and you get healthy enough to where you can be productive instead of, kind of bringing down the team when you're injured. Because at that point, it's not helping anyone. Trust me, I never complained when I got hurt. When I snapped my ankle in half in football, I told everyone it was a sprain because I wanted it to be that. Tape it up, give me some Advil, put me on the court. I get that. But it's the NBA playoffs, man, and this is the dance. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't – you need to be at your best ability. And if your best ability right now is bringing down the team, I think that doesn't it doesn't help anyone. It just hurts the team, if anything. So I wish he'd just trust the young guy if they knew he was, that bad.
For me, it also comes down to the old Bill Parcells saying, are you hurt or are you injured? Because if you're injured, you're not going to play. But if you're hurt and you're toughing it through it, unfortunately, the reality is the expectations are the same if you're on the court, no matter what your ailments are, no matter what your, maybe his ankle was that bad the entire time, but he chose to play through it. He was on the court, and therefore, warranted or not, and I'm not saying it's always warranted, fans are going to expect you to be that same guy. Fans are going to expect you to be all NBA third team player Julius Randle. Expect you to be the guy that was gigantic for the Knicks for large parts of this season. And he wasn't. And that's where a lot of frustration comes in for fans. So once again, it circles back to, yes, you have the reason, but it's not an excuse. You still played the games, you still didn't produce, and the team still got eliminated. Doesn't matter what injury you had. And that's the unfortunate reality of sports. We see it all the time. Guys tough through injuries, guys play. No one cares if you're hurt or not. If you lose, and your season's done.
Makes sense. No, it's weird too because I know it's more of a regular season thing in the NBA. It's very common for a guy to just be hurt and then just to sit out for a week. But no, tough way to go down. You don't like to see it because I think Evan made a great point where, or you might have said as well, but are you hurting the team or are you helping the team with you out here with this injury? And obviously you can't go back to that and check on to see where he was during the time or can't really replace it. But again, a guy came up. There was a guy who could easily replace Obi Toppin, fully healthy, having a good playoffs, could have came in and really done a lot for the team. But instead you had a guy who was obviously dealing with serious injury if he has to get surgery out on the court. So how much did that hurt the Knicks' chances against the Heat? But obviously we see the Heat now all the way in the NBA Finals. So
yeah, exactly. And then just the last thing, and we can get into this more as the offseason gets closer, but I wanted to bring this to the table. So we all know how, I wouldn't say desperate, but how the Knicks are very interested in getting a star player. Whether it be the rumors about Joel Embiid, whether it be fans discussing Zach LaVine or Jaylen Brown or Donovan Mitchell last summer. The Knicks have a lot of picks, and the Knicks have a lot of young players. So the question I wanted to pose before we moved on from the NBA topic was this. Out of the guys that you would consider the quote-unquote young guns of the roster, what guys are you willing to part with in a trade? And I guess I'd say rank them in the sense like the top three. So the three I'm referring to are RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Obi Toppin. If you want to include Mitchell Robinson in there, depending on the player, sure. But I don't think that he gets included unless you're trading for a big-time center like Karl-Anthony Towns or Joel Embiid. If you want to include Miles McBride, sure. I don't know how much value he's bringing in a trade. I think the three guys listed, Quickley, Toppin, and Barrett, are your three major assets. And Randall is, I guess, your fourth. But I don't think Randall is getting traded in just any other trade for a superstar. So I'll toss to you guys. What are your guys' thoughts, and who would you be most willing to part with in a trade?
I'll go first. I saw something on Twitter the other day, and who knows what's true or not, but I saw something that Obi was looking to try to get 4 for $70 in his next contract, which love you, Obi Toppin, not worth $70 million or 4 years. I think it all comes down to money and how much they want. And I think and I was listening today to, local radio station, and a caller called in and was like, well, why don't we trade for 2 first-round picks, Obi and Quickley for Paul George? And I said, you are out of your absolute mind. If I were to send anyone, and don't get me wrong, Paul George is 33. He's injury prone, but he is still a dog. And Kawhi's not producing out there. I like the radio host came back and said this. He said, why don't we trade Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, and take Paul George for his money? And I'm not too mad about that per se, because Kawhi Leonard's not there. They need a guy who's going to put the numbers that he does. And, Paul George, I think, could play well. We need a shooter. We need a guy who's going to lead the team of young guys. But I think I don't want to trade Quickley. Quickley, I think, is a future. I think he's a hell of a bench player for us. I would not want to trade Quickley. I think he has the most value. If I'm going to part ways with anyone, I would say it'd probably be Obi. Love Obi. I think he could be fantastic for us. It just depends. I'm seeing a lot of money stuff, and I think that's where it comes down to. And if, the price is right for certain players, like I just said, I think, if we trade Julius Randle, Obi can step up. You know what I'm saying? I just think it depends on the trade scenarios, but I definitely say he's probably my highest on the list. And then I would go probably be Obi, RJ, and then Quickley. But RJ's still fringe too for me to even get off the team, because I think he's finally, going to take the step. I think he's figured out how, you're supposed to play in the dance and how how things work. And I'm very excited to see what his future is with the Knicks. I think he's finally settled and comfortable. I don't think the Knicks step forward and go, let's run it back with this team, because that's just I don't think it's gonna. They're not gonna win that way. And they said we got picks. We can see, give or take what we can give away, what we can't. But I think that's where I'm gonna go with. Is probably Obi's probably the biggest one if we're gonna get rid of anybody. I know Josh Hart is I don't want to give up Josh Hart, but again, he's another great, value that you could throw in as an older guy. Hate to put it like that. Even Fournier, if you really want to, throw someone out there. So that's how I feel.
No, sorry, I agree with me. The list is interchangeable at the top. I think goes Obi and RJ, like you said, at the top, and then Quigley, I think, should stay a Nick. I think he's shown his value. He's shown that he's a perimeter threat. And again, like we talked about last episode, that's what they need. They need guys who can really take control from beyond the arc, and he really fits that mold well. When it comes to OB and RJ, just from what I've seen, it's very noticeable that RJ is not as comfortable as he is, obviously, from three as he is driving to the lane. And we saw those struggles later in the season when it was hard for him to get into the lane and make work inside the paint. And Brandon, you brought up a great point too, that if they had threat around the perimeter, then it could open these lanes up for RJ. So I think if they can really get shooters, like you're saying, to help with the team, so those lanes could open up for RJ. But again, if they don't, then they fall in a situation where then RJ is trying to work these one-on-ones with these bigger players, or just try and get into a crowded paint. It might be tough for him. When it comes down to it, I think he has way more value than Obi. If you're looking at trade, you might get more out of or have to give up less. But again, who I think would give the most value to the Knicks if he stayed was RJ. I don't think Obi Toppin. I've never been too much of a fan of Obi Toppin. I know he's been very inconsistent as a Knick. So if I did have to pick one guy, it'd be Obi Toppin. But I feel like if you want to get more bang for your buck, and maybe it's time for RJ Barrett to leave the Knicks, he could also be the answer. But I feel like Quigley should 100% stay.
So for me, it comes down to a few things, right? The new CBA is going to be very interesting because of the way it's going to work in terms of giving out maxes and different deals. And if you go past the second luxury tax threshold, you're getting more penalties. And that's going to play a role in this offseason for the Knicks, because this doesn't come into effect yet, but it's going to come into effect the season after. This is why you're looking at are the Celtics really going to give the Jaylen Brown extension and then the Tatum extension? You have $600 million of contracts for two guys. How are you building a roster? That's where those types of questions come in. You could argue it's very similar for the Knicks in the sense of Obi wants around that 70 million range. Quickly's probably going to want something close to the 100 million of Barrett, where I don't think he gets it, but I think he's going to sit comfortably around the 80, 85 million range. You have Barrett's contract, which is already pretty close. So that's 100 million. That could be considered a max. And you have Randall and Brunson already. So my keeper is probably Quickly, but not exactly for the reason you guys said. I want Barrett on this roster unless they're trading him for a superstar. And that's really what it comes down to. You're not just getting rid of these guys willy-nilly. You're getting rid of these guys in a trade. It's how likely you are to part with them in a trade. All things considered, RJ is my number one guy. But in terms of a trade, Quickly's my number one guy, because the NBA is weird in the sense of high salaries are very valuable in trades. Barrett and, let's say, for example, a guy like Evan Fournier are insanely valuable in trades because they have high salary. You can match for a superstar with a big contract. To Obi, I think, is very expendable if you're keeping Julius Randle. If you're keeping Randle, well, Obi's expiring. You're not giving a $70 million extension to a guy that's barely playing any minutes for you. Whether that's warranted or not is a different discussion. But you simply can't give that contract to a guy that barely gets on the floor for you in terms of what the money value is. And yes, the cap keeps going up, but the cap isn't going to go up forever. Like, that's going to stagnate some years. It's going to maybe, instead of going up like this, it's now like that. That curve may slow down. But Barrett, I feel like, can fetch you the biggest return in the sense of he's 22. He's still very young, but there are very real concerns. He's not a perfect player. If he was a perfect player, the Knicks would have him on an untouchables list. His three-point shooting has gotten worse every single year. He had his worst year of three-point shooting this season. You could argue that'll improve with more shooters on the roster. The field goal percentage will go up with more shooters on the roster, but you don't know that for sure. I'd be fine trading Barrett for a superstar. I'd be packaging him with Obi for a superstar. And if it's really that big of a superstar, you're probably having to part with Quickly as well, if you don't want to give up the extra pick. So, bring it back. Quickly's my quote-unquote keeper out of those guys, but honestly, in the right trade, I'm fine parting with all of them because of the way contracts are working and everything along those lines.
I think that's great analysis right there, Mr. Poggers.
So I think that brings us to the end of the NBA discussion for this week. Evan, unless you want to stay on for some for baseball talk, you have any parting words for the audience today?
I told you guys, Golden Knights, man, they're them. Put that out there.
They're a dangerous team.
Oh, I was
They
watching the
are.
game last night when I was working, bro. How do you go up like four? Were they up 4-0 at one point, 5-0 at
4-0,
one point?
yeah.
Dude, gross. They're a gross team. That hit yesterday was crazy.
Oh,
He laid that one kid out, bro.
it
It was
was
like,
Eichel.
Eichel, and it was scary because he had a prior neck injury. So everyone was like, "Oh
And you know
no."
what? He ended up playing the third period. So
his whiplash was wild. I was thinking, I was watching, I was like, wow. And his helmet came off too. He unbuckled him. That's what we call it in football. He unbuckled him. When your straps come off, that's crazy.
To Chuck, which honestly, it's so funny in hockey. I feel like the only other sport you see this in is football, but it's way more frowned upon in football than it is in hockey. To Chuck was just trying to set the tone for the next game.
Oh, the cheap shot someone. Yeah, it's very.
And it wasn't even that bad. Eichel would have been fine if he kept his skate, but he tripped.
He tripped.
And he just fell right into it.
Bro, he saw him coming. You literally saw him coming.
Yeah.
It was a good. But that was good. That was fun to watch.
Here's the problem with that, though. It backfired because Vegas scored 2 more goals in the next period.
One of the bartenders I was with had the final score Vegas 4-2. And because I know the Panthers scored 2 in the third, and it was probably 4-2, and then he scored like 3 more. And I was like, that kid's probably pissed. But that's my parting words. Go Vegas. Yanks, didn't they? They had a big win this weekend, right?
Yanks had a great 2 series.
Big series win.
They did, yes.
That's what I thought. I saw it this weekend. These kids are showing me like their baseball money lines, and I'm like, I couldn't even touch that. I don't know what any of these teams are. One kid took, oh my god, and I'll leave after this. He took the A's over the Pirates. They played the Pirates yesterday?
I guess.
I think he had them, or the Marlins. Who they played somebody.
It was the Marlins, right? No.
I think he took
whatever. I know they just had a series with the Marlins.
They played somebody. So he took the A's, and A's were up 4-1. And he took them like whatever the line was, the plus whatever. And then the Marlins, they walked 3 runs in, the A's. And he was pissed. And then he lost that line. I was like, that's so rough. How do you walk 3 runs in? Anyway, that's it. That's all I got to say. Baseball is, whatever. I wear the hats, but it's just for the drip.
It's a great trip.
All right, but I'll see you guys later. You guys have a good time.
Gotcha.
We'll see you next week.
Yes, I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Peace.
So,
it's
time to move on to baseball.
Yes, it is.
Before we get to that, we had a decent parlay.
Yeah, we missed 2,
week. Right? We went 3 for 5. Or my bad.
4 for 6.
4 for 6. I'm bad at math. It's fine. We missed on Reds plus 1.5, Angels plus 1.5. You know what? It happens. We're gonna hit on it this week, Toomey. We're gonna make up for it. But
I think you're looking at a different one.
You sure about that?
Yeah, it was Cards, Royals over, and then something else.
You sure? I think that might have been the week prior.
Besides the point, we missed 2.
Whatever. We missed 2 bets. Yeah. Beside the point. Are we going to start with the good or bad? So basically the Mets or the Yankees.
I feel like we always start. I mean, I guess there's be more to talk about with the bad, so I guess we'll go right into the bad. I watched a lot of the bad too. I watched the good part of the bad.
This is our poll question of the day. I'll get into it a little bit later. Toomey had some errands to run, so we took care of the basketball and football talk earlier in the show. We are now on to the baseball talk, main part of the show this week. Our question today is Francisco Lindor will hit above 240 this season. Yeah, it's funny because I was present for 2 games this weekend for the Mets. I was at the Thursday game when they beat the Phillies, and I was at the Sunday game when they faced the Toronto Blue Jays. Toomey, I don't think we've ever had a conversation before that has been this spot on. And before I get to that, Brian says he agrees to the poll. Also, we had earlier in the show, Rob agreed to the poll that Lindor only has a 0.241 BABIP, so more of those singles to land in between the extra base hits. This has been the most roller coaster season as a Mets fan that I've had in a minute. We also have Ryan saying, of course he will. I agree to the poll. This was a gigantic roller coaster season. So I was correct to start the week. The Mets were 3-0 to start the week. They swept the Phillies. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling good. The 5-1, the winning the week is going to feel great. And then they played the Toronto Blue Jays. And this is where the issues come in for me because of the inconsistency. The Mets, somehow, by the way, are still less than 6 games out. They're 30-30. They're 5.5 behind the Braves. Marlins are comfortably in second place, which that's a completely different discussion. They're only 3 games behind the Braves. If you want to pull up the let me pull up the wild card standings real fast because Mets.
I got them here if you want.
You have all right. Do you have the wild card standings?
Yeah.
All right. Where are the Mets placed currently?
They're the first team out.
First team out? Yeah. So it's so funny because the Mets are still firmly in the playoff discussion. 100%. And why are we looking at April? Why is MLB.com have to be difficult to me?
That's okay.
I guess it's cool that you can see the standings on every day, but yeah. So if we look at the NL and their standings, yeah, the Mets are only 2 games out of the Brewers and a half game behind, or 2.5 behind Miami, and I think I'm not sure how that works, but still, they are the epitome of inconsistent because after sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies, they proceeded to lose to the Blue Jays 3-0, 2-1, and 6-4. The 3-0 game, they had Justin Verlander go 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts. In the 2-1 game, I'm pretty sure this was McGill's best start of the year. 5.1 innings pitched, 5 walks, 5 hits, but only 1 earned run and 5 strikeouts. And then the last game, the pitching wasn't great. They lost 6-4. That's a completely different discussion we'll get to in a little bit. But we got other responses. Who'd rather have Lindor or Turner? I want Lindor. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I agree with this reply. The sweep hurt my heart. It hurt mine as well. Thomas says he wants to disagree with the poll. You wouldn't be far off with the current production, but there's still a lot of season left. So that probably will allude to my answer. But the Mets get all this great pitching. They get all of this, production out of their one part of the team that has been holding them back, quote unquote. And now the hitting isn't there. You're going 0 for basically 16 with runners in scoring position against the Toronto Blue Jays. And when you're storming back, your manager is leaving in Dominic Leone, who proceeds to give up 2 runs right away again. And then you don't come back. This has been the problem this entire year because when one thing's going right, the other part isn't going right. When the pitching is on, the hitting isn't. When the hitting is on, the pitching isn't. And nothing can be consistent for this team for any long stretch of time. It's annoying. Quite frankly, it's annoying. And with how much money has been invested into this team, you expect them to be better. You expect them to produce. You expect them to not be a middling baseball team. And you can't compare them to the rest of the NL East or the NL. Because guess what? The entire NL has underachieved. The entirety of it. Look at the standings.
I got something for you. I mean, the Yankees are 36-25 and 7th in the AL. And I'm pretty sure if you look at the averages, they'd probably be the best team in the NL. Because the best record's the Braves 35-24.
They would be. They
Yeah,
would
right?
100% be the best team in the NL. The Mets have been this bad, and yet not bad, inconsistent, and they're still firmly in the playoff race. They're still firmly in the division race.
Yeah.
They play the Braves this week,
Which is good.
which starts tonight.
Most fortunate scenario.
Guess what? They win 2 or 3. You're within 3 games of the division now.
Yeah.
That's how inconsistent this division, this league has been, and that's what makes it so frustrating. That's what makes it, when you're looking at the stat lines, that Tommy Pham has the 3rd highest OPS on this team. Tommy Pham, who me and you 2 weeks ago were discussing, shouldn't even be getting consistent at bats. When you look at it, the hitting, Pete Alonso, 231 average. And we'll just go average right now. Francisco Lindor, 213. Francisco Alvarez has hit in a slump. 237. Kana, 244, but he started to turn it around. Pham, 234. Beatty, 227. Escobar, 234. Nimmo, 292. Marte, 250. McNeil, 282. Vogelback, 216. Vientos, 188. I mean, goodness gracious. You don't have a guy hitting above 300. You have one guy hitting above 280. And OPS, you want to hear even worse? Alonso, 862. Lindor, 688. Alvarez, 783. Kana, 728. Pham, 784. Beatty, 688 or 668. Escobar, 692. Nimmo, 800. Marte, 647. McNeil, 709. You've basically you have had 2 guys 800 or above, and so many guys under 700. You are, to look at even more stats, if we want to pull them up real fast, and I will pull them up real fast.
Go for it.
Because this will frame it as well. This is from the same One Shining Mets account I have referenced before.
Pistons. Like that.
McNeil has dropped from a 143 WRC plus to 106. Marte from 136 to 87. Lindor from 127 to 92. When you have a lineup that not only isn't producing, but guys that have been producing are falling off cliffs for no reason, it's not a good sign. And I've come on here, I've said the pitching isn't great, and then the pitching improves. And I said the hitting isn't great, and the hitting improves. I don't know what to say anymore. They just have to turn it around. They have to find consistency. They have to not have pitchers being extended or put in random positions, like having a Dominic Leone pitch in extra inning after he got out of the inning prior, when you have a Drew Smith in the pen waiting, when you have these guys ready to go. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. And you look at the upcoming schedule, I feel like it's deja vu, because you play the Braves and the Pirates and the Yankees. They could win 7. They could lose 5. They could win 4, lose 5. I don't know. I simply do not know. And that's the problem. There's no consistency. There's nothing that tells you that they should be this bad or they should be this good, because it's up, down, up, down, up, down the entire year so far. And that's why you have the 30-30 record. That's why they are a middling baseball team. Because when one part is working, the other part isn't. And I don't know what the fix is. And that brings us to the poll question. Will Lindor hit above 240? I have to agree, because this is what I've seen from the guy his entire career. If I disagree that he's not going to hit above 240, and he's currently hitting, if I get this correctly, 213, with 40 RBIs and 10 home runs. How much worse can it get? If I don't think he's going to hit above 240, that means this Mets team isn't going anywhere. Nowhere. So I have to agree because of, one, what I've seen from him in his career and his prior seasons, and two, the expectations I have for this team. Because if Lindor isn't producing, we've seen how this Mets team works. If him and Alonso aren't driving in runs, they aren't winning baseball games. And it sucks that it is like that, but it's the truth. What's your opinion before we preview the Atlanta series? Because I don't know anymore. I just don't.
I guess just to start, when it comes to the poll, I think it's very interesting that he's batting at 213 with 50 hits, and he also has 40 RBIs. That 50 hits with 40 RBIs means at least, I guess, he's hitting the ball with runners in scoring position frequently. I guess when he does get hits. When it comes to the poll, I have to agree too. Just Francisco Lindor is just one of those world-class baseball players that hitting under 240, again, in this new age of baseball, which, again, I want to get into, not again, but I do want to get into this other discussion too about just, it's been talked about in the past couple of seasons ever since it's just dwindled down with the pitching getting better. The average MLB batting average obviously has fallen off, and I was having a discussion, and I brought up to whoever I was talking to, I was like, only 11 guys last year hit over 300, and they're like just dumbfounded by that, like insane. And we just kept going through all the numbers and seeing that, like, it's just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, the guys hitting over 300. But then back to this, or here.
But here's the thing, to your point, 300. But if Lindor hits 250, 255 with like 20 home runs, 80 RBIs or 90 RBIs, plays excellent defense, has like an OPS of 800 or above, I'm good. That's a great season.
Did you say 200?
What?
If he batted 200 with those numbers?
No, if he batted like a 240, a 250.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was going to say, if he batted 200 with 80 RBIs, that'd be impressive.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not like I'm saying I need Lindor to hit 312 with 30 home runs and 120. No, I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for him to play excellent defense and just be a productive hitter. Nothing insane, but productive. Be the guy that you were brought here to be.
Exactly. So, no. Just to keep going into it then, last week we went each other. We were asking, what do we think the Mets record is going to be? And I said 30-30. I said they're going to win 3, lose 3. Did not think it was going to go that way, though.
No.
Right when I saw them sweep the first one, I was like, oh, God, they're locked for at least 4 or 5. And for that to happen, I mean, crazy. But I guess it's just – I do recall seeing this last year. I think I brought this up before, too, that just with the Yankees, if you remember last year, the Yankees start off with one of the greatest, like, first half of seasons, like, ever. And then that second half was atrocious. I mean, and they went through the same pitfalls that the Mets are right now. It was like pitching was on this game, hitters couldn't do anything. Hitters were on this game, pitchers couldn't do anything. It just – nothing could click. And when it comes down to this team, they're too good not to click. At some point, the season's so long, there's so much to do, there's so much talent. Alonso's going to keep hitting home runs. Lindor's going to come out of funk. The young guys might start to produce better. I guess we haven't seen them in a full season. We don't really have the
they're also rookies. You can't expect them to carry a team.
Much, but this team is too good to not click.
But that's the thing. Did we overestimate the Mets?
No.
But that's the question.
I mean,
that could be the case. Did we bet? And this goes to my point as well. Did we overestimate last season production? All these guys having career years and bounce back years.
That for sure, because that you can't mimic.
That's what it comes down to. They won 101 games with everyone producing at their best level they have. Guys coming back down to earth is the ceiling of this team, actually 90 wins, 85 wins. And we just didn't see that because we're going based off last year and didn't see the potential further regression. That's the thought I'm having, where I do think they bounce back, but I don't know if they're bouncing back to the level they were last year. That's what
I see this, like, you're forecasting, like when you forecast this team, you're like, all right, let's see what they can do when Alonso has an average number of RBIs or Lindor hits for his average and does what he does at the plate just in an average, in a basic median season. The issue with these guys I'm noticing is they're not hitting for their median. They're not overdoing something. They're right in the middle, but they're not. Like, if
They're
you want
way
to track
below
them
it.
from the middle, they're way below that. And that's where the issue comes in. Like, truly, like, yes, last year, like, Alonso and Lindor had these crazy RBI numbers. Obviously, they weren't going to replicate that. But then when you get to other guys like Canna, who was a rock for the Mets last year, he's not hitting.
He started to pick it up, but no, he hasn't hit the first few months of the year.
So when these guys are performing so poorly, it's got to pick up, because these guys are just world-class athletes that really are going to find it. Something's got to go up their back door, and something's got to get going. I mean, these guys are too good. The team, too much money. I mean, and then people are going to start blaming Buck, and I mean, I don't know. You can't get swept. You can't sweep then get swept.
No. So, Don, maybe it's time for a new manager. I don't think we're there yet. This team gets 10 games, 15 games under 500. Yeah, someone's getting fired. And the unfortunate reality is you're kind of at this place where you could make the argument for anything to happen for this Mets season. And I'd be like, yeah, I could see it happening. The Mets could rattle off 10 straight wins, and I wouldn't be surprised. The Mets could rattle off 5 wins, 5 losses, 5 wins, 5 losses for the rest of the year. I wouldn't be surprised. I hate to go with this route. The Mets could lose 10 of the next 12, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially with the teams they're facing. There's nothing that could happen this year that I'd be surprised by, because I've seen the lows from this team and I've seen the highs from this team, and I feel like I've seen everything else in between. So that brings us to the series preview. I guess before we'll answer that, are you guys buyers or sellers at the deadline? I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I'm going to put a hot take there, and we'll see if I'm correct. This Mets team can't be buyers. This Mets team cannot be buyers at this year. It's in terms of building up your farm system and having overall success year after year. This is not the year I'm buying. It's simply not. Let's see where they are in a month. But if they're playing like this, why am I buying? Why am I trading off prospects for a team that, guess what? This current version of the Mets is not running through the NL. You need your lineup to produce more. You need your guys to come through more. And we still, and it's not even like a complaint anymore, but looking at tonight's lineup, why is Lindor still hitting second? I feel like he's better in the 5th spot. Why is Daniel Vogelbach still DHing? You're giving McNeil, you're playing McNeil in left. Marte's in right. Beatty's hitting 7th. You dropped him down the order now. Omar Narvaez is starting over Alvarez. Why? Escobar is playing second base. So no Tommy Pham, no Marcana, who have been your 2 hottest hitters. You're starting Carrasco. It's those type of decisions. It's the small decisions that are adding up for the Mets as well. Like I said, not pulling Dominic Leone cost you a game. Pitching the Vlad Guerrero with a base open cost you a game. Over time, those are going to build up. And I'm not saying fire the manager, but between the lineup decisions, which it's not even why even stress about it anymore. It's not like the majority of this team's hitting right now. And the pitching decisions he's making with the bullpen and the bullpen decisions he's making in general, there's a reason why this Mets team is the way they are.
I had a question for pretend when we get down the line toward the deadline, and they're in a similar state. They're around 500, maybe a little above, maybe a little below. Do you think it'd be silly for them to go after bullpen? Like buy bullpen? Because I feel like if they shaped up the bullpen, it would really help with the team a lot.
Who are you getting? And
I mean, it depends once we get to that point. I mean,
no, but like to your point, it's like you have guys that are coming back from injuries soon in your bullpen. Like Elias or Hernandez is going to come back. That was one of their main signings. That's the other part that isn't discussed about. The Mets have had a decent amount of injuries even before the season, mainly in the bullpen. Edwin Diaz, Eliezer Hernandez, Bryce Montes Diaca, all these guys have been hurt that would have been contributors. Also doesn't help. swing it back that the Mets starter pitching was so bad that the entire bullpen got taxed and basically ran into the ground for a good stretch. Steven Nagasic had a great outing. The reason his ERA has been so high is because he's had to pitch damn near every other day. You could argue the same with Dominic Leone. You could argue the same with Jeff Brigham. I'm not saying these guys aren't bad in some spots because they haven't got the job done. But for a bullpen guy, if you're being asked to pitch almost every other game, every other day, that's going to tax you. We've seen this year after year. So it's just like, I wouldn't buy because I'm just not convinced at this moment. And I can be swayed, and I have been swayed. But I need to see consistent results for a good 3 weeks or a good month, one way or the other, to really solidify if I'm buying or selling at the deadline.
No, makes sense.
And then looking at the schedule coming up, you got I'm going to pull up the probable starters for this.
Go for it.
This series, or the next two series, hopefully. So, with the Mets, they begin their series with the Braves tonight at 7:20. It is Carlos Carrasco versus Bryce Elder. Elder has the best ERA in the National League. Game 2, tomorrow night, 7:20. Scherzer versus Morton. Game 3, Thursday night. Verlander versus Strider. Lots of great pitching matchups, by the way. Pirates, McGill versus Ortiz. Senga versus Rich Hill, old friend Rich Hill, that is. And then Carrasco versus Oviedo. And then the Yankees probables aren't out yet, but we will talk about the Yankees-Mets series next week because that begins Tuesday. But I'll be honest with you, 6 games, 3-3. I think they win 3. I think they lose 3. I don't know what games it is. I can't give you any worse. I can't give you any better. I think they are going 3-3 in the stretch against the Pirates and the Braves. And honestly, we're going to be back here discussing very similar outcomes, in my opinion. That's how I feel like this week's going to go.
In a sense of what do you think?
The up-down sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're playing against 2 of the best teams in the NL, so it's weird to say the Pirates in that conversation, but they are ahead of the Mets.
It's funny because the Mets have been great against the good teams this year and not great against the bad teams. So I guess we'll have to find out. What's your prediction on the week for them?
Yeah, so 6 games. 2-4.
Buddy, if they go 2-4 this week, you're getting a very angry version of me going into that Yankees series.
I'm saying 2-4. I feel like Atlanta usually does play the Mets well. That's just from my outside viewers. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I feel like they do.
They do. No, the Atlanta plays the Mets very well. Very, very well.
Yeah, so I'm going 2-4. We're doing hopefully not because then, some of these more discussions of manager questions and that are really going to rise.
Well, this will be a conversation after this week. But looking at their next few series in June, Braves, Pirates, Yankees, Cardinals, Astros, Phillies, Brewers. That could make or break a season. Especially with how many games you have against NL opponents. Like another Phillies series, the Brewers series, Pirates. Those are teams you're chasing down.
Yes. For the wild card.
Those are teams you're chasing down to try to ensure you're locked and loaded for the playoffs. You lose, that is what? 3, 6, 7, 8. That's 11. I mean, it's close to 20 games. If you're losing 16 of those 20 or 15 out of those 20, you're in trouble.
Well, that's over. That's it.
Yeah. You're in big trouble.
The flag.
Because you're basically around July 4th, and you'd probably be, 10 out at that point?
They'll win more than 4 of those games, though.
We shall see. I'm very interested. So I'll toss it to you now. The Yankees are making my at least they're trying to make my one prediction of them winning the division try to happen. It's very tough at the moment.
Yeah,
Because
the Rays don't let up, and the Orioles they haven't really let up either. They're playing great baseball.
No.
But again, and that takes nothing away from the Yankees. The Yankees have played very good baseball, especially these last two series that we had with Seattle and the Dodgers. I mean, Seattle, we talked about game one because we were on the air for that one, and we saw that with all the Judge. He had 2 home runs, and Rob won that same game, and then came out and whooped him again. And then the next one, they lost 1-0 to the Mariners, went to extras, had their chance in extra innings. I think they had bases juiced with 1 out and blew it. But you know what? You got to give those to them. You're on the road sometimes. It happens.
A quick sidebar, by the way. I didn't realize how bad the AL was waxing the NL in terms of records this year.
What do you got?
In terms of the playoff teams,
yeah.
outside of the Twins, every AL playoff team, including the Yankees, who are the 3rd wild card, would have the best record in the entire National League.
Very weird. Especially with all the firepower the NL has, that it's just not showing really.
Nope.
But then, just to get to the Dodger series, started off very poorly. I mean, Luis Severino got smacked back to reality after his first couple good games. But I guess that the bright side of that is we got to see Donaldson, Stan, and Canley back. And they all played that game. Donaldson hit 2 homers. Stan hit a homer, and then Canley got to come in for relief. Think he did pretty well. But that was a little set of the tone for that series. Awesome series, too. They were on Saturday Night Baseball, and they also got the Sunday Night Baseball. So it's cool to see that, get the inputs from the guys, the players on the field. I know they had Freddie Freeman mic'd up. They had the managers mic'd up and stuff, so it was cool. But then Judge got hurt. Obviously, you saw that catch. I feel like everyone saw that catch.
I did see that catch. That would be correct.
And they went through the whole thing with the fence and stuff on ESPN. They're like, this fence, how Judge ran through it. He had to do a whole little sports science thing with it, which was funny because they always blow things out of proportion. But he got hurt from that.
What? Sunday Night Baseball blowing things out of proportion? No.
Yeah, right? But, yeah, he got hurt. I don't think it's that bad. From all the reports I've been seeing is...
It's a toe injury, right?
Toe injury, yeah, okay. Which could be a lingering thing, which could cause some issues. But right now, there's been no word. So I really do think he's going to stay off the IL. Maybe he'll come in at the end of this series with the White Sox, but I don't think it's that important. Again, you got a couple, I guess, easier series right now until you get with the Mets. I still think the Mets are a very good team, but
you could argue the Mets are an easy series right now, man.
Yeah, but no, I guess just to get with the team, I mean, everything's going in the right direction for them. I mean, they're playing great baseball. Can't complain. The only thing is just Judge isn't in, but I mean, that I think just to talk about this real fast, that Western it wasn't really that much because they only played 6 games out there, but.
They love their West Coast games.
They like it. It's a great sign for them later in the year, just going away, long road trips, and really performing well. I mean, against a good Mariners team who they're a solid baseball team for sure. Maybe they're not playing it, but they really do have a ton of talent, a lot of good pitching, even though we didn't see Castillo. It's a real bright side for the Yankees. And then to go into LA, which is not an easy place to go into, and win a couple games. They win the series after getting blown out. Game 1 against that lineup, which I didn't really notice, so stacked. I mean, you got Betts leading off, then you got, who was it? I think it was Will Smith. I could be well off, but Freeman, Muncy, keep going. JD Martinez in your 5 spot. Like, that team is so stacked, and for them to not be performing. I mean, Kershaw, again, awesome. Love watching Kershaw. He's one of the we always talk about how Scherzer and Verlander are so good because they're on the Mets. We get to see them. But Kershaw, again, is like those 3 guys are like the top 3 pitchers we've ever seen growing up watching baseball. So it's always cool to watch him. But no, I mean, not much news. Rodon's coming back. He's creeping back. He's throwing. I mean, it feels like July's going to be here in a snap.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So fast. But no, I mean.
Whoa, hold on. I hate to cut you off.
No, I'm rambling right now, dude. I have no idea. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. They're doing great.
Now there is. Not for your team. Jacob deGrom to undergo Tommy John surgery.
I just saw the report that he was on the 60. Tommy John. That's got to be it, right?
You think that's
come back from this?
You think that's it for him?
Was this like his third?
Second.
He only had.
Oh no, it might be his third. Yeah,
I think it's his third. That sucks. I mean, he was. Just talk about the greatest pitchers we've ever seen. He is.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen a more dominant pitcher.
I mean,
when he's on the field, fully performing, like.
I hate to put it like this, but the Mets avoided disaster.
They did,
and I love DeGrom.
Yeah.
I truly do. He was amazing for the Mets, but this is the risk you ran. This is the risk you ran signing DeGrom, and the fact that it's come down this fast, it's unraveled this fast. I feel terrible for him. I truly do. I feel terrible for the guy. Don said, "Yeah, it's over." Wait,
what's this? I just saw Manoah got demoted.
Yeah, got demoted to the spring training complex. Not AAA, not single A, not double A. No, the spring training complex.
They're gonna start him over, huh? That's crazy for a guy who was so dominant last year.
Yeah, but he can't. I have no idea who
Game day. I love it.
Wow,
that sucks though for DeGrom. I mean, I think that's got to be it.
I don't know if it's it, but he's gonna have to reinvent himself.
Oh, what just happened with Strasburg too? What'd he just do?
Oh, we got injury. If you want to just get to the injury news before we do our parlay to wrap up the show, at least the Texas Rangers batting is amazing. Batting, the whole team, man.
They're awesome.
The Rangers have, I think, the best league and the best record in second best record in baseball, behind the ever overachieving Tampa Bay Rays.
They really did just come out of nowhere too. They were like kind of at the bottom and then just skyrocketed
because they signed a bunch of decent to good pitchers and they're all pitching fine. And the hitting with Josh Jung, who I think has a great shot at AL Rookie of the Year.
Crazy stat I saw. In their 53 seasons as a team, they've only made the playoffs 7 times.
Yeah. And a lot of those have been in our lifetime.
Yeah.
But to circle back, DeGrom, we'll talk about this more because the comparison between him and Verlander, that's already began. Somehow the Mets have come out on top of that already, which is insane because Verlander's been good, but he hasn't been completely dominant, and yet the Mets are. Imagine if the Mets are having the season they're having now, and then they lose DeGrom to Tommy John.
Oh,
I'm glad we're not living in that world, but obviously hope DeGrom's okay. Strasburg, it's for another. Speaking of guys, it might be over for nerve damage. He has been able to throw a baseball. That one's even sadder because that dude's body just has betrayed him year after year, and he has been probably one of my favorite pitchers I've watched in my lifetime. He is just a stud pitcher. And then you have Manoah, who honestly the introduction of the pitch clock has really hurt him a ton. It's hurt him a lot in the sense of, he can't work the same way, and I hope he rediscovers himself, but getting sent all the way down there it's pretty big. It's a pretty significant thing. So what are your opinions on the 3 major pitching news?
Well, I already gave my 2 cents on DeGrom. That stinks. And it was noticeable right when he walked off the field with that injury and he's reaching for the arm and you knew something was up. And for him to just go on the 10-day IL was like, wow, that's very weird. And then once I just saw he got put to the 60, I was like, something's not right. And then it's just obvious that I think his career's done. It sucks that if he played consistently, didn't get hurt, he's, I believe, Hall of Fame pitcher. With the numbers he put up, especially in that one season. He had one of the greatest seasons a pitcher we'll see for a long time. If not. I mean, when it comes to Manoah, that's weird. For a guy to get so – I've never seen one pitcher go from, like, all-star starter at the break to demoted to spring training, you said?
Yeah, the spring training complex.
That's insane. I don't know. He might just start they might have to Mr. Miyagi him. He'll start cleaning bleachers and stuff first. Try and get back in form. Try and just like instill some I don't know, some routines in I don't know. That's weird. And then to Strasburg, I think he gets the biggest swindler award of the baseball, man. He only got that contract from that playoff performance, which that playoff run and that performance was sensational. But I don't think he's really pitched since then. Excellent. Yeah, he's gonna do something. But no, right? Strasburg hasn't played really.
No,
he made all this money, and he'll be done. I mean, great career.
But on the field, he was so damn good.
Oh my God, sensational!
So damn good. 20 minutes into the lineup being announced, Fire Buck was trending for on Twitter.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, things are all peachy, sunshines and rainbows in Mets land. So
once that starts happening,
yeah, it's probably already going sideways. It's okay. To round out the show, we're probably not getting to NHL today, to be completely honest with you. But to really give our quick thoughts before we do MLB Parlay of the Day, myself and Toomey were right. So, we were right about something again. The Vegas Golden Knights, baby.
Yes, finally, right?
Night up, baby. Yeah, it's not even close right now. They are just completely outclassing the Florida Panthers, and quite frankly, this is to just be expected.
No, yeah, they're.
I hate to say it, Cinderella story. Cinderella story is getting stabbed through the chest by the Golden Knights.
I mean, I said that both Florida teams are going to lose. I feel like that was kind of the obvious answer, but keep it going. But I mean, just to win by these large deficits too, full control of the games.
It's not even close.
I mean, we've seen comebacks. I mean, we watched in the Devil series; they came back from 2-0. What other series? What the couple of series came back from 2-0.
Vegas has won by a score of 5-2 and 7-2. They've let up 4 goals and scored 12 in 2 games. Now, what they better hope for is that they don't have the Rangers effect, where they all of a sudden can't score once they go. Well, they were already at home, so that's a different story. But besides the point, Vegas is rolling. I think they're rolling to the championship, whether it's in 6, 5, or 4. I think Vegas is winning. Simple as that.
Now they're in the Panthers are in desperation mode now. They one more loss and it's really an issue because we've seen guys come back from 2, but
you got to win.
Obviously in the playoffs, every game is pretty much must win, but obviously more games are more must win than others when it comes down to it. Yeah. And they can't go down 3-0, so they got to pull something out. And if you notice Kachuk in this series too, he's gone 10 minutes. 10-minute misconduct.
In the same game.
No. Well, he had one in the first game.
I thought he had 2 last night.
Did he have 2? I know he had one last night.
No, he had 2 last night.
That means he's had 3. He's had 3 this series, which is absurd.
He's basically saying, if we're not winning the game, I'm just gonna take someone out.
We'll win in some way.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll probably get more exciting. Panthers will put more of a fight, but no, it's
maybe we'll see.
Hopefully, for it to be exciting.
So we have 6 minutes left in the show. Time to do our baseball picks of the day. Toomey, get us started. What do you got? Excuse me.
I'm gonna go with your Atlanta Braves.
Are you taking run line, money line? What do we got here? Money line. Yeah. Toomey going for the classic anti-jinx, because if this one doesn't hit, I'll be happy. So my first pick. Are they playing tonight? They should be, right? Yeah, we're going Arizona Diamondbacks money line. This has been, outside of the Orioles, my favorite team to watch this year. Corbin Carroll, man, looks like one of my award predictions might be on the money. Not really any other of them. Although Tristan McKenzie had 10 strikeouts in his first start, so we're off to a good pace for him for my dark horse Cy Young pick. But going with the Nationals money line, they're going to beat Washington tonight. Book it. What do you got
There
for
we
the
go.
next one?
Next, I got Astros Blue Jays over.
Who are the probable starters for this one are Hunter Brown and Kevin Gausman, 7.5. I could see it happening. The next one, I'm gonna go with. I wanted to go with Reds plus 1.5 because Ellie De La Cruz, one of the most electrifying prospects in baseball, finally got called up. Although they are playing the Dodgers, so I am not exactly confident in that one. So we're gonna shy away. I'm gonna go with Baltimore Orioles plus 1.5. The Kyle Gibson on the mound against Freddie Peralta. What do you got for your final pick?
My final one
for 3 apiece.
Would you just take Brewers money line? I'm sorry.
I took Orioles plus 1.5.
Oh, Orioles plus 1.5. Okay, and then my final one was going to be. Where was it? Right here. The classic should be a walk in the park. Pirates money line over the A's.
Should be. My last pick. Clark Schmidt's on the mound facing Lucas Giolito. We are going with Yankees minus 1.5.
Oh, please, actually, if you could change that from Pirates minus 1.5. Can you put that?
I can.
Yeah.
So that gives you 3,055 odds. Put $2 on that. You win $61.11. Hopefully we hit this week, my friend.
What was your last one? I'm sorry.
Yankees minus 1.5.
And yes, hopefully we do.
So officially, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to me for hopping on a little bit later in the show. Thank you to Evan. Thank you for Evan for holding down the fort while Toomey was on his little escapades. Be sure to tune in next week. Going to have lots more New York sports coverage, football, basketball, hockey, baseball. Maybe you'll see me screaming into my microphone because the Mets aren't playing well. Maybe you'll see me more mellow because they played well. In this world, you never truly know. So for myself and Toomey, thank you guys for joining us today. Toomey, any parting words?
No. Besides the PGA, that's pretty cool. Did you see that? PGA is interesting if you're into that.
I don't know if it's pretty cool.
That's interesting.
It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Because, PGA said they wouldn't take the Saudi Arabia funds money, and now they're taking all of the Saudi Arabia funds money. So that's a discussion for another day. Big UFC fight this weekend.
Yes.
Amanda Nunes. I'm excited for that. That's really my parting shot. I have no confidence in the Mets right now. I hope they win. But if they don't, I'm numb inside anyway, so it doesn't matter. Thank you guys for joining us on another great episode for myself and Toomey. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.